When they cast Anthony Quinn as Hazrat Hamza in the film, I think that is because when I saw the film for the first time, I remember that I was hugely impacted by it, and it really did touch me on so many levels. Already being a Muslim myself, you know, I could identify with many things, but I used to always think that when a person who is not a Muslim and who's not familiar with the religion, when they see the film, you get this certain sense of calm and understanding as to, you know, our Prophet, peace be upon him, and what he represented at a time when the Arabs were severely in need of direction.
Yeah.
And you know, the casting of Anthony Quinn, tell us about that, because I think he was amazing.
Yeah, Shabnam, we have 3 phases when we make a film. It's the pre-production first of all, and there comes the production and then post-production. When I teach film at university level, I always say that about 90% film is made when pre-production is done. In pre-production, we cast people, we decide about the costumes, we decide about the positions of light and position of the camera and the compositions and everything. Practically everything is written on paper. So about 90% of the film is made when it is still in pre-production phase.
Right.
I think that if you are impressed by Anthony Quinn's role and the way he played that role, I must say that credit goes to Mustafa Akkad, who directed the film. Actually, it is the duty of the director who casts the people if he thinks that this role can be best played by this person and only this person from the entire society and from entire the pool which is available to the director, pool of talent which is available to the director. The credit must go to the director who actually picks up a person, the most suitable person who is going to play the role. Anthony Quinn played some negative roles in the films as well, but in this film he was very kind. He actually looks very kind when he submits himself to the Prophet ﷺ. Even he was an uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, still he loves a lot. He respects the nephew, and the way he respects the nephew, especially when the mosque was being built. Look at the expression of the character. The character. Anthony Quinn plays that character. It was, if you are touched by the character, it is purely due to Mustafa Akkad's casting. We say that don't miscast anyone. You know, in Pakistani films and in Indian films sometimes we are habitually miscasting people. For example, in old 70s films or 60s films, person who is in 40s used to come in the room, in the house, by shouting "Mom" and a BA pass kar liya, and people didn't used to believe that in this age you are getting graduated. So it was purely the best example of miscasting. But Mustafa Akkad did not miscast. You are talking of Anthony Quinn. I highlight some other characters as well. Look at Hind. I mean, she has been marvelous.
Absolutely.
Look at Bilal.
Oh, yes,
I think that, I assume that Bilal was like that. Sayyedena Bilal Radhiyallahu Ta'ala Anhu. He is so powerful in his facial expressions, and when he is calling to pray, the azan, yes, the first azan.
The first azan.
I mean, that was amazing. The way he is calling by standing on the roof of Kaaba, and the way people are responding to that call.
And
people are stunned.
And the beauty of that scene, sorry for interrupting, the beauty of that scene is the way they lead up to the first azan.
Exactly.
When they say that we want everyone to come together now, it's time for prayer, what should we do? And then they think of different things, that what could be done to summon people for prayer. And then they say, what's better than the human voice? Human
voice, exactly. And when human voice comes for the first time, and that strikes from the first time with the hearing of the passerbys, they stop for a while and they start looking at the character who is calling for the prayer. And Bilal, the character of Bilal also looks at them, because they are stunned and they are failed to comprehend what's going on. He says, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala salah. Yeah. And with the motion of the hands, he actually directs them to come to the mosque. This is how, nowadays we call azan by Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala falah. But he's actually directing them with the hand, with the motion of the hand. So please come to the mosque and say your prayer. So it is phenomenal. I mean, I give full marks to Mustafa Akkad for casting Hazrat Bilal, for casting Abu Jahl even. He becomes, by the end of the movie, he becomes the pure example of a persona non grata. You start hating him. What kind of person he is still. He gets murdered in Jang-e-Badr. Otherwise, you hate him. You know, such powerful. You would yourself say that this character has been very powerfully played by this actor. So if the casting is good, all credit goes to the director.
Absolutely.
And then obviously comes, credit must go to the actors as well. The way they use their facial expressions,
because
and
they
the nuances.
all seemed to be
real.
So, you know, acting with such passion.
And very natural.
Yeah, and
very natural.
That's something that comes throughout the film. There is not a single place where you think something may be as a misfit.
Exactly, and especially even when the Battle of Uhud was lost by the Muslims, and there is festivity going on in the other camp. You see, Hinda is, enjoying it and celebrating the triumph over the Muslims after the Uhud war. That we remember as Muslims, we remember that apparently Battle of Uhud was lost by the Muslims, and some companions of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not obey apparently, and we lost that. And obviously on the other camp, in the other camp, festivities were going on. There is the music of this celebration. That music is so powerful. Again, full marks to Maurice and Mustafa Akkad, who actually hired him, because in those days, in 70s and 60s and 80s, people used to wait for this person, the composer, that if he's busy in some film, they used to wait for him to get free, and once he is free, he was actually taken aboard. You see, so he's an excellent music composer.
And because of course he had to work with the instruments that would have been available at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
So he would have had to be culturally appropriate as well within his music score.
Exactly. You know, he was an intelligent music composer. When he signed for this project, obviously he studied the culture and the lifestyle of the desert, the person who is living in a desert, what kind of poetry and what kind of voices he is familiar with,
rhythm and the sound.
Exactly. So he was, and I was talking of the festivities and the celebrations going on in that camp. The facial expressions of Hind and the slave who is showing his skills, and it is so good. I think that it comes before, it comes before the Battle of Uhud, just one night before the Battle of Uhud. And she appoints the slave that you are going to kill or martyr Hazrat Hamza, and after that, obviously after that, she will, operate and everything. So that festivity, that celebration, and the music, and the way that was put on the screen, and the way that involves the audience who is sitting in cinema hall, it is all phenomenal. I always take the message as a successful cinematic piece. I study it as a cinematic piece, and I appreciate it as a cinematic piece. You see, as far as the history of Islam is concerned, that is very much available in books.
Exactly.
We can consult any good book if we want to study the message of Islam. As film lecturer, as film student, and as a cinegoer, what actually appeals, what is appealing for me, cinematic treatment is appealing for me, and the way Mustafa Akkad treated every scene, every visual, and the way he incorporated music into that, that is phenomenal.
Because of course, as you're explaining,